We are live. We are live. Welcome to college football's Peek Around the Corner breaking news emergency live show. Welcome to college football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Flugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and friends, and do not forget to ring the notification bell. As you can see, this is breaking news. We come on live. You've got to get yourself subscribed. You got to get yourself notified, and it's probably best to follow us on X at Flug Empire, because we do post a link to the live show. So if you do not get notified by YouTube, you'll get notified by my account. If you want to support this truly independent National College Football's Rebel Outpost with a donation, help us keep the lights on and grow the channel and get to do this thing every single day, please hit the donation, hit that $sign where you make your comments, and I will get to your super chat as quick as I possibly can. Welcome everybody into the studio that sits on the corner, the very corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to become a legend with your comments and with your phone calls. We will get to your phone calls as soon as we possibly can. Of course, your phone calls, when you call in, the floor is yours. Your kind super chats, the floor is yours. They supersede everything else, even myself babbling on and on. Let me get to the breaking news. For those who just don't know what is going on here, let me get to the breaking news. And there is a lot to discuss here. Wow. This was Ross Dellinger 35 minutes ago. Ross Dellinger 35 minutes ago. 3 more amendments have been filed to the Protect the College Sports Act, all from Senator Ashley Moody, Republican, Florida. One of those amendments creates an exception in the expansion provision to permit P4 schools to move conferences without the 5-year probationary period. Of course, 2 of the Moody schools are Miami and Florida State, both being in the state of Florida, obviously. And the Florida Gators are where they want to be. Ross Dellinger. Per the amendment obtained by Yahoo Sports, if a Power League school wants to move to another power conference, the school can avoid the 5-year probationary period if it withdraws from the league, from its league, within 180 days of the bill's enactment. So, there's more that Ross Dellinger has just reported on. We'll get to that in a moment. I want to welcome everybody in. I do want to say thank you to the Little General for giving us the opportunity to do this live show this morning. I've had to rearrange my schedule here. Let me do a quick roll call. For those, I appreciate everybody jumping on in on a breakfast live show, emergency show. Bruce Harris is in the house. T-Duck is here. Mountaineer Memes, the Big Lubbock, Marie, Derek, Muggy, Certified Caveman, 2 Mazda. Osceola Trucker. I haven't seen Osceola Trucker in the house for a while. Preston from Greensboro. Illini Ted. Larry McCauley. 2 Mazda. Daniel Gorby. A lot of people are in the PATC studio that sits on the corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. I'm going rogue TV. Sorry about that. Illini Ted. The Irish is here. Jeremy Norick is here. Jay Chapman. Don 2260. College Football Universe. Meet Mrs. Ashley Moody. Studzilla is on the house. On vacation, but still here. I love that commitment. Kyle Morrison is in the house. Wolf Dago is here. Kenneth Maynard. Moody is a Gator. She may be able to get it reduced to 2 to 3 years of independence, but that's not what her amendment is about. As far as we know, the amendment is about, it's the quick strike amendment. 180 days. She's not trying to make that 5-year probationary period disappear. She's just pushing it for 180 days. As far as we know, she's also not putting an amendment to change the conference cap number of 19. It's only given a 180-day space for a Power 4 conference team to leave a Power 4 conference to go to another Power 4 conference without the 5-year probationary period. As far as we know, that's all that she's shooting for, which should get, this is what we're going to talk about. We'll get to it. David Kreitzer is in the house. Nick Kelso is here. Caleb Ramirez. No, I appreciate all the messages. I got a lot of DMs in the last 35 minutes. A lot of DMs. And I didn't want to go through. I just said on my account, thank you for all the DMs. Thank you for keeping your head on the swivel. I appreciate it, PATC family. Thank you so very much. Appreciate all the help. Arn Kriegbaum is in the house. Nick Kelso, boo, need the cap number removed. Again, this is one amendment. Are there going to be other amendments? Taylor on the Tube is in the house. MF 1968CB is here. Daryl is here. Nan is here. All right, thanks. If I did not get to you, I do appreciate you. I appreciate all of you coming on in here. Thank you very much. So let's get back to what Ross Dellinger said here. The amendment that Ashley Moody has presented creates an exception in the expansion provision to permit P4 schools to move conferences without the 5-year probationary period. So it's not trying to remove the 19 number cap. It's not trying to even get rid of the 5-year probationary period. It is just giving schools can avoid the 5-year period if it withdraws from its league within 180 days of the bill's enactment. So let's chop this up. And then there's more news we'll get to in a moment here. First of all, I would ask everybody right now to keep in mind, or keep your eyes on the following. Who is going to hop on this amendment in support of what Ashley Moody has proposed? Who's going to come out and co-sponsor this amendment? Keep an eye on that. Is it going to be one of the Georgia senators, or it won't be or one of the South Carolina senators, one of the North Carolina senators? That we all have to keep an eye on that. Number 2. Ashley Moody is not acting, this amendment did not come out of the old, she did not just grab it out of thin air. Once again, we reported to you now 3 days ago here at Peek Around the Corner that there was going to be outside forces outside of the SEC and the Big Ten that were going to start doing the heavy lifting, that they were going to put pressure on this bill because of that 19-5. We talked about the state of Florida Board of Governors, the task force. The calls have been, this is the result of all that. And we believe at Peek Around the Corner, there is more coming. There is more coming. More pressure. In fact, let me show you something here. About 20 minutes later, Ross Dellinger reports this. Breaking news, breaking news, breaking news. With the Protect the College Sports Act on the brink of a Senate floor vote, hurdles remain. Several objections from Republican senators to request and to accelerate a vote. In other words, there's quite a handful of Republican senators that want to slow this down and probably want to slow it down and kill it, to be honest with you. At least 4 amendments from senators. And this is the key one. A whip vote count that isn't as high as originally expected. A whip vote count from Cantwell and Cruz that did not match their expectations. So again, that is huge, huge, huge news. I think some people are taking a step back and walking away from this for a lot of different reasons. We had the Congressional Black Caucus say what they had to say yesterday. That might take some of the Democratic senators to take a step back. The Republicans are obviously taking a step back. Look, in most part, the Big Ten and the SEC became satisfied with the bill. It was not perfect, but they decided to support it. But there are other people that were not in that room on those last decisions that are now want to make their voices heard. And of course, we've been concentrating on the 19-5 issue, but there's a lot of other issues out there. The Big 12 and the ACC, that higher cap number that's going to stretch them to the brink. There's a lot of stuff going on here. I happen to think that this is not gonna make it through. And we talked about yesterday how early 2027 or all of 2027 is going to be wild if this bill doesn't pass. Well, now with this amendment, even if it does pass, that early 2027 is going to be quite wild. I'm sorry. You probably hear a noise outside my studio. There's work being done there. Here's the thing. It is incredibly interesting to me that Senator Moody provided an amendment to do the 180 days room for a school to leave one Power 4 conference to join another. There's no question that she's been told by universities in her state that we have a chance to join the Big Ten. We have a chance to join the SEC. We have a very good chance to join either one of those two conferences. Now, her amendment, as far as we know, as we've said before, does not touch the cap number. So we're breaking this down here. This does not change the cap number, this amendment. That's not her attempt. That might be another senator's attempt. That's not her attempt. So, I don't think she was told by interests of Florida State and interests of Miami. I'm doing a lot of speculation here, no question about it, but that's, we're chopping it up. We're talking college football. I don't think it was told that, hey, Senator, Miami and Florida State can both move to the Big Ten. That's not what she heard, because then she would be talking about a cap number being changed, right? She just wants that 180 days lifted. She wants that 180 days added. We don't have to go through the 5-year probationary period to be independents. So she's hearing some combination of, Florida State and Miami have an opportunity to join the Big Ten or the SEC. Now, I'm just speculating here. I am just speculating here. I don't think I don't think Senator Moody was told by interests of Florida State and Miami, hey, we have a great opportunity to join the Power 2 conference. We both think we're going to the SEC. Right? Logically, the SEC having Florida, Miami, and Florida State in the SEC conference as an 18-member conference or a 19-member conference. Maybe if they were bigger, again, just speculation and everything that I've heard, chatted behind the curtain the last year and a half, all this stuff. I think if I was to guess, and this is a guess, hopefully you would consider this an educated speculation, I would, just a guess, I think that the senator probably was told by people of interest at Florida State, hey, we've got an opportunity. We've got an opportunity to go to the Big Ten or the SEC. Probably the SEC, but we have that opportunity. And Miami is probably saying, we could be that 19th team of the Big Ten. We've also been looked at the SEC. So I think she's been told both here. Both options for Florida State and Miami. And the senator felt that this had to be done. This had to be done for the interest of the universities in the senator's state. And I think we're going to hear more. Again, we reported on this. This ain't over to the fat guy in Minnesota until the fat lady sings. We told you that there would be outside interests of the SEC and the Big Ten that we're going to try to massage this thing, try to get this thing flipped. And here it is. It's begun in the Senate. More of it would happen in the House. Now, having said all of that, before we get to your phone calls and possible super chats, if this bill does not pass, if it does not pass here before the elections, before the next year, and it doesn't look, it's still a long shot. Not completely dead, but it's still a long shot. If this bill does not pass, I do not see how there cannot be realignment in 2027. We have reported to you. We reported you the quick strike. A week later, Ross Dellinger reported it. We reported to you just a week ago that basically we were told that the talks were all done. We don't know, nothing imminent, nothing operational at this point, but there is no more to discuss. Everybody's got what they think they want to do. If certain things happen, certain domino pieces fall. We also told you that the Big Ten no longer, it's not Notre Dame or bust, that the Big Ten is willing to do another target expansion without Notre Dame being one of the pieces. And you can see that this is there's a handful of ACC schools that truly believe they have a shot to go to the P2. And they're not wanting this bill, this 19-5, to stop them. If the bill gets stopped, that 2027, the Big Ten, and I talked about this yesterday, I see the people writing their articles, and I see people, they're saying that the Big Ten really is not interested in another expansion and all that. And some people are saying the Big Ten actually proposed the 19 cap number. And, No, 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 no. None of that is true. None of that is true. It's just that the Big Ten had to fight the battles that it could win and had to get it in the bill. The 19-5 has to be fought from somewhere else, and now it's being fought by those somewhere else. And let's not. Can we be a little bit honest here? The Big Ten has had talks with these Florida schools. We believe at Peek Around the Corner, the talks with Miami is at a little bit of a different level than the talks with Florida State. After that ACC settlement with Florida State and Clemson, the Big Ten has talked with Florida State. They've talked with Clemson. They've talked with Miami. They've talked with all of them. So has the SEC. The Big Ten has been told by consultants, by everybody, that if you do another expansion, it would best serve the conference in the future. I know that sounds evil. I know that sounds ruthless. But just like when they added USC, UCLA, Washington, and Oregon, the entire conference became more valuable to its member institutions. It did not dilute Ohio State. It did not dilute Michigan. It did not dilute Penn State. It just didn't. And the Big Ten has been told by outside forces, they might be ended up being wrong, but they've been told that it would benefit, it would behoove the conference in future meeting negotiations, in future time slots, in future diversity of markets, in the future of trying to get your product out into the international market in Europe and the Middle East. It would behoove the conference if they got into the southeastern part of the country. So the Big Ten has not written off expansion, but they were put up into the corner. They need that they want that antitrust exemption. Or they're going to have to go silo and muddy around with that for a few years and see if that works. So I don't buy into any of the, and there are very good, honest people out there that are saying this stuff. I just Peek Around the Corner 100% disagrees with that take. Why do we disagree with that take? Because we have talked to too many people who are in too many spots, who have been too correct over the last 12 years that we've been doing this. The Big Ten has war gamed all of this out. It is why you had the Maryland Athletic Director Jim Smith say, I think we'll be at 20. That's why Mark Coyle talked about expanding with 2 schools within the next 2 years. This has been the Big Ten's. The Big Ten was never scheduled to expand with Oregon and Washington when they did. But there was an opportunity. There was a slight opportunity, and they took it. Oregon and Washington was supposed to come in on the next expansion. They were supposed to be part of the blend with the southeastern part of the expansion of the Big Ten. Now, this is another possible off-schedule expansion. The Big Ten was never going to expand on this schedule. If something happens early in 2027, it's getting closer to what they wanted to do. It's still a little too early. But if this would pass 180 days space before the probationary period came in, I think the Big Ten would strike. And the question is, if the bill doesn't pass, does the Big Ten and the SEC actually want to have the next Congress dictate number of membership in some sort of crazy probationary period of 5 years of independence. I think the Big Ten and the SEC would take that off the table. I think they would strike. So either way, we're looking at a crazy 2027. And of course, we don't get there until we get through this crazy 2026. I do want to go to a very kind super chat, starting us off. Christopher Hoover, $5 holler. My goodness. Thank you so very much, sir. The purple and gold. SEC, if add 2, want 2 new contiguous states, not double dip in places already representative. If add 4, I'm okay with a double dipping. I think if you would bring all the chatter behind the curtain, you bring in all the national reporters into a room, and you hit them with a truth serum, I think most of them would agree that is the route that the SEC would take. That if the SEC could, they would add a Virginia and North Carolina. As we said on June 15th of 2024, those are the top 2 targets. The Virginia and North Carolina thing has become awfully complicated. It has become really complicated. So they may not be able to take a Virginia, North Carolina as their top 2 targets. And of course, Florida State and Clemson bring a lot of value. So, now if this bill would pass, the SEC would only be able to add 3 schools. And let's say you take that probationary period away for 180 days. The SEC would only be able to add 3 of the North Carolina, Virginia, Florida State, and Clemson. I don't know if you got, thank you so much for the $5 holler, Christopher Hooter. I appreciate it. Before we get to Kenneth Maynard's very generous super chat, thank you, Mr. Maynard. I don't know if you guys saw the Athletic article that came out this morning. Matt Baker, who did a great time at the Tampa Bay Times and doing a great job at the Athletic. He put an article, and it was a speculated article. He was just making his best guess. But he was operating under the world of every conference goes to 19 members. And you don't have to worry about that 5-year probationary period. And he made his choices on who would go where. And he said, and his guess was the SEC would take a North Carolina, Virginia, and a Miami. And then with the Big Ten, I think he just said Notre Dame. And then the ACC was like Tulane, South Florida. I can't remember. They would have lost a bunch of schools. Tulane, South Florida, UConn, Army, and Navy, something to that effect. And the Big 12 would be Memphis, San Diego State, and somebody. I can't remember. But anyways, go check that out. Matt Baker, the Athletic article. We will not be going through that today. But anyways, Kenneth Maynard, $5 holla. Kenneth Maynard, UNC +1 to the SEC, either North Carolina State or Virginia if Moody's amendment passes. Then we are done unless the P2 wants 19 each. That sounds logical to me. Now, again, I would say this. And I'm hoping there's more breaking news during our live show. I'm expected to go on live later today if there is more news and if my schedule allows it. I'm really fascinated to hear if anybody jumps on this Moody's amendment and supports it. I think that is something that is going to tell us a lot. Senator Moody did not act alone. The senator did not just put this amendment up there. Miami, Florida State, knocking on the senator's door. And Florida State and Miami are not acting out of hope. I mean, there's still got to be some, they don't know probably exactly what's going to happen next. But they've had enough discussions with the SEC and the Big Ten to know that they are definitely in the game. And that 5-year probationary period is a killer. It is an absolute destroyer. And they've also, again, speculation, well, not spec, it's not speculation. Miami and the Florida State also knows, and so does a Virginia and a Duke and a Georgia Tech and North Carolina. They all know that they would not need more than 180 days. That if the Big Ten and the SEC decides to expand, take that 180 days grace period without the 5-year provision coming on in. The talks were elevated to the point where there's really no more need to talk. Other than maybe the last final negotiations of how much you would get here, the media partner's willing to do this, your time slot, you might have to play an extra Friday game. All these things that are not going to hold up the deal. These items that did not take, these little details that Washington and Oregon said, okay, that's fine. Just let us in. Same thing with Florida State, Clemson, North, all these AC. They're not going to, those last details are not, the big part of it has been done. So they would not, the 180 days also tells a story. They would not need more time than 180 days. We have learned, well, anyways, thank you, Kenneth Maynard. Thank you for the $5 holler. Very much appreciate it. Christopher Hooter, $2 holler. North Carolina, Virginia, and Miami. That works. Good with that. Again, I'll just say this. Thank you, Christopher Hooter. Thank you so much. Appreciate your generosity. 19 is such an ugly number. It's such an ugly number. It's as ugly as 17. If you go to 19, if you go to 19 and play 10 conference games, it works out. If you go to 19 and still have 9 conference games, it doesn't work out. Just like it doesn't work out with 17 teams with 9 conference games. So you also got to consider that. I'm not sure the SEC would go to 19. Now, the Big Ten would go to 19. If Notre Dame would say, yeah, I want in, because the Big Ten would probably immediately jump to 10 conference games. The Big Ten might go to 10 conference games anyways. But the SEC, I don't think so. I don't think so. We'll see. Thank you, Christopher Hooder. Thank you for the $2 holler. I very much appreciate it. I do want to get to your phone calls here. A lot of schools are vetted. Smile time. Greg, how many schools are vetted in the Big Ten already? Now, again, are you talking if the bill passes with that amendment intact? Or are you talking if the bill passes without the amendment? Or are you talking if the bill doesn't pass? For the first time in 3 years, or the first time since we called the shot that Oregon and Washington were going to come on in, for the first time I can honestly sit here and with reasonable confidence that the Big Ten is ready. Not imminent, not quite operational, but I think they are ready. And that's the first time that I've ever been able to say, you guys know I've been saying a lot of conversation, a lot of positioning, some bubble of actions we just found out about. But I think the Big Ten is ready. If the landscape, they're not going to do it in the middle of this, right? But I think the Big Ten has made some decisions. John Grove, 19 teams, 10 opponents. 10 conference games, it works. 80 days gets you past the 6-1-2027. Yogi Buck. Yeah, I think you just have to file your notice of withdrawal, right? Within the 180 days. And they would make sure they would do it before June 1st. Because then they can join the new conference July 1st of 2028. Right? Okay, we'll get to your phone calls and your super chats starting right now. 763-260-1333. Welcome, everybody. 214 people are in right now. I appreciate it. Coming on in on a breaking news breakfast. Very special edition of our live show. The phone lines are open. 763-260-1333. I'm hoping we get some more breaking news, some more development. I don't see any. Matt Baker is reporting.
Call from
Mohr Simmons.
Mohr Simmons, can you hold on for just a second?
Yes.
I just want to, Matt Baker is talking about your Florida University System Board of Governors. This was a notable discussion point at the Florida University System Board of Governors Task Force meeting the other day. Matt Baker is also reminding that Moody was involved in the Florida State ACC litigation when she was the Florida's Attorney General. So Moody knows the issues. She knows the battle that Florida State has had. And at the very least, again, part speculation, part information, but she probably was given some good information from Florida State on their prospects if they can remove the 5-year probationary period for at least 180 days after the bill is enacted. If it does, Mohr Simmons, the floor is yours. Thanks for calling, sir.
Yes, Greg. I'm gonna say this real quick. Like you said, the forces in Florida is really pushing hard, as well as Clemson. I ain't gonna leave Clemson out because they've been with us. They've been our ride or die partner. But now, one thing I would say is that I do believe this is a good attempt and a fair attempt to move this bill because it's limping. It's on its last breath. So if they move this bill with what Moody has suggested or put forth, I should say, yes, we're ready. We're ready to go and make whatever moves we got to move to move forward. Now, one thing I would say is this, and you mentioned something, which was the SEC possibly moving to 2 teams, and instead of going to 20, going to 18. And I somewhat believe that because it's going to be a holding pattern just for for UNC, North Carolina, to break free from the state. Because right now, the way that stands right now, they handcuffed to NC State, and then the question going to be how desperate is the SEC to get North Carolina to bring the little brother along? And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not hearing a whole lot of people in the SEC talking about they want NC State. So my thing is I think that's going to take some time for North Carolina to break free of the state to let them go to where they want to go. That's going to take some time, and time is of the essence right now because nobody ain't going to sit and wait for, like I said before on one of your shows, it's not fair to the other schools that we got to sit and wait for North Carolina to break free from the state. So I do believe that Florida State going to go in to the SEC. Now, the question going to be who's coming with them. And I suspect Clemson may come with us. Then, because the wheel will be greased, so when North Carolina is available, North Carolina will come on in, and whoever else it may be with them. But I think the first 2 schools, because this is going to change everything. It's going to probably be Florida State and Clemson coming in. Also, looking at keep an eye on Notre Dame because when this passed, Notre Dame don't have a choice but to come and jump on into the Big Ten. You know, so I mean they want to be in there because if the Big Ten is going to move to 2+2, then and they bring, let's say Miami come on over there to the into the Big Ten, yes. Now you got the major schools out of the ACC, then that's going to force Notre Dame to come right on into the Big Ten. Now I wish the Big Ten luck with Notre Dame because you see how Notre Dame is already working and how they handle things. I wish y'all nothing but the best. I'm glad that we breaking free. I'm glad that we breaking free of the nightmare and the headache because they act like they prima donnas and they haven't won nothing in a long time. Mm-hmm. So yeah. All right, Greg.
All right.
Have a great show.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Mohr Simmons. Legendary caller, Mohr Simmons. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Thank you, Mr. Simmons. I appreciate your phone calls, like always. Beautiful. There is a couple of North Carolina comments from national reporters. Brian Murphy, WRAL, out of North Carolina, says about the Ross Dellinger report 3 more amendments have been filed to the Protect the College Sports Act. One creates an exception to the expansion provision to permit Power 4 schools to move from conferences to conference without that 5-year probationary period. Brian Murphy says this would be a significant change to the bill and would think welcome news for several schools, including potentially North Carolina. And then we've got Josh Pate, who has some sources. I would agree with that. I think myself and Josh Pate get along pretty good. This is what he said here. Alarm bells from Chapel Hill to Coral Gables. So, there it is on that. People are starting to wake up. People are starting to understand that this is not over. As we reported to you all 3 or 4 days ago, that 19-5, the forces were going to start Senator Cruz, tear down this wall. Senator Cruz, tear down this wall. We did a live show yesterday with the Osceola on a horse, telling Ted Cruz to tear down that wall. A Notre Dame mascot was standing next to Ted Cruz in our art. And if you've noticed,
Call from
Christopher Hooter.
Christopher Hooter, can you hold on just one moment, please?
Yes, sir.
I appreciate it. And if you've noticed, this amendment by the Florida Senator Ashley Moody, that amendment would be supported by Florida State, obviously, Miami, obviously, North Carolina, all these ACC schools that have had extensive talks with the Big Ten and the SEC. That amendment would be supported by other schools that are trying to, like a South Florida, because they would want movement in the Power 4, so South Florida could get into the Power 4. Just an array of examples of schools and interests that would support the Moody Amendment. But there is one school out there that will not support the Moody Amendment. Mohr Simmons just brought them up. Notre Dame is not gonna support a 180-day grace period on the 5-year probationary provision. Notre Dame ain't gonna support that. They do not. Notre Dame would have to think again if they lost, if the ACC suddenly lost to Virginia or North Carolina or Florida State and Clemson. Notre Dame would have to think possibly differently than they are now. Christopher Hooter, thank you for your phone call. Again, thank you for your super chats and your support. I appreciate it, good sir. The floor is yours.
Well, 19 is an awkward number, but North Carolina, Virginia, Miami, I don't know how you do better than that.
Yeah, but how do you do the scheduling of football?
Who cares? That's a home run. That's a grand slam, to use a baseball analogy.
You're gonna care though if LSU goes 7-1. No, if you go 8-1. And if another SEC school goes 7-1, but the SEC has to enact the same tiebreakers as the ACC, and somehow LSU gets punished because the unequal conference games, then Christopher Hooter, you're going to call this program and you're going to say this is not justice. LSU got screwed. You got to make sure that 19th school can really bring enough value on for you guys to have, because you guys you don't have any interest in going to 10 conference games, or at least I don't think you do.
Well, I think if you go to 19, I think if you go to 18, you do. And if you go to 19, why not?
Oh, really? Okay. All right. All right.
Remember,
I digress.
if you're at 18, at 10 conference games is the remember at 16, 9 conference games is the natural spot to be.
Mm-hmm.
At 18, 10 conference games is a natural spot to be. 3 and 7, 3 and 7. And so I don't know, but for that trifecta, whoever's predicting that, what was his name?
Matt Baker.
Maybe he's not predicting.
Matt Baker.
Matt Baker. Okay, maybe he's speculating. Maybe it's not a prediction. But I mean, you can't say no to that. Get over it. We'll figure it out, right?
Yeah. Well,
that gets you. You got 3 spots. You get 2 new states, big states now.
yeah.
And yeah, we'll take Miami. Hey, I'm good. I mean, I'm all in. I'm sold.
All right. Well, we did in our last. Sorry to interrupt you, Christopher Hooter. In our last Holy Smokes Theater update, if you take a look at the Big Ten candidate list, you see Miami at number 3. If you see the SEC candidate list, you see Miami in the 3rd tier as well. So we've been hearing, and this goes well beyond what Paul Feinbaum says, Miami would be, somewhat on that SEC candidate list. We do have them below Clemson and Florida State. But yes.
Well, Paul Feinbaum does not have them below Clemson and Florida State.
I don't know. He doesn't really talk. He does not. He kind of avoids details when he talks, but I get why you think that. But we do here at Peek Around the Corner. We do. So the SEC does not. The Southeastern Conference has more of an allergy to private universities than the Big Ten. The Big Ten has pursued Notre Dame, obviously. They just got USC. They have flirted with Stanford in the past. The SEC, with the exception of Vanderbilt, which is I think there's a little bit more of a reluctance to go the Miami route, but we think they're on the candidate list. Go ahead, sir.
Well, I mean, most of the Southeastern Conference schools were land grant institutions, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, and I haven't checked, but I assume UNC and I'm not sure about Virginia. I don't know. Virginia predates all that. But North Carolina might be. That was then. This is now. I mean, I'm okay. I mean, if 19's real, I'm okay with North Carolina, Virginia, and Florida State. Right? I mean, whatever. We'll figure it out, right? But yeah. North Carolina, Virginia, Miami, I'm good with that too. There's probably political pressure to take Florida State over Miami. If you're going to 19, which is goofy, but whatever. Well, let's just play along.
Yeah.
But my feeling is maybe they're going to bump the number to 20. So the point might be moot. And then do you take Florida State and Miami, or do you take Florida State and Clemson, or do you go to Kansas or somebody and try to get a 3rd state? I don't know, right? Of course, then it's chaos if we're going above 19. But like before you mentioned that, when you said 19, I was thinking 19. There's only 18, right? 19 means 18. Add 2. But if 19 means 19, add 3. Well, that's going to stress the Atlantic Coast Conference, whoever's left, right?
Oh yeah.
It's not it. If you take 2, and they muddle along and they survive. But if you take 3, I don't know, that's wounding them pretty hard there. And then Notre Dame's got to be thinking, well, what do we do, right? So, yeah. Anyway, so I got excited there. You know,
Yep.
I agree. 19's goofy, but I'm good with that trifecta.
Got
Anyway,
it.
okay, go Tigers.
Beautiful,
Talk to you.
sir. Go Tigers. I have. Hold on.
From
Rock and Rant.
Rock and Rant. Can you just hold on for a moment, please?
Of course.
I want to say, you know, I haven't seen Go Black 45 in here. I haven't seen Roddy Richborg in here. I haven't seen OBD Dunn in here. I hope I haven't upset the LSU Tiger fan base because I'm so very high on the LSU Tigers this year. I got them in the SEC championship game. Now, a lot of college football YouTube channels, when the host knocks a certain team's prospects, when a host says, "I don't think that school is going to do very good," and the fans of that school say, "Ah, this guy's a jerk. I'm not going to watch it anymore," that happens. But here at Peek Around the Corner, the reverse happens. When the fat guy from Minnesota, myself, Greg the Cooler, former Greg the Cooler, by the way, when I profess love for a team, when I think they're going to do really good, I notice people, the fans of that school, suddenly do not like me anymore because they are rooting for me to dog their team. So it's the reverse here at Peek Around the Corner. So I hope I have not offended anybody in LSU Tiger country because I believe their team is going to go to the SEC championship game. But I'm sorry, this is Greg the Gold talking. No more Greg the Cooler. So buckle up, brace for impact, LSU Tiger fans. Rock and Rant, thank you for calling. We got 246 people in here. I was hoping you would call. I think this gives us more information than I think we are. I think this gives us a lot of information because in my mind, there's no question that those with interest at Miami, the University of Miami and Florida State, knocked on Senator Moody's door and says, we've got a great opportunity here. And she decided to put the amendment out there. I also am willing, I'm also very fascinated on who is going to jump on this amendment. Is there going to be a senator from South Carolina? Is there going to be a senator from Georgia? Is there going to be a senator from North Carolina that also supports Moody in this cause? What say you, Rock and Rant? The floor is totally yours.
Well, let me know if you can hear me okay, because I've been having phone issues and I don't want to screw up your audience. But, you know, and Greg, maybe you said this in the beginning of your episode. I didn't realize you were going on, and I haven't gotten a chance to rewind. From what I can see online, it's clear that the 180 days part of this amendment applies to the independence thing.
Yes.
But I'm not 100% sure, and maybe you have already gone through this, and I haven't seen any reporting saying it does or does not apply to the 19 cap.
Exactly. I don't think she's asking. Her amendment has nothing to do. Yep.
I don't know that though, Greg. That's my point. Like, I haven't been able to get the whole amendment. I've just seen some screenshots and I've looked for it online. But the parts I've done, because it's getting complicated about subsection 3 under 9 and all this congressional crap.
Yeah.
And it's not plain language. But just the parts I've seen, throwing it in with like the full document of what was released earlier this week and letting like 3 different AI models try to tell me what the hell is going on. One of them I still don't know the answer he gave me, and these are the higher powered ones, not the free ones. And 2 of them think that the 180 day applies from what the information they got, which again is not all of her full amendments. That the cap may not apply either. So in that same window. Yeah. So I don't know whether or not that's true or not, but I'm just throwing it out there because I haven't seen one reporter online say that this does not apply to the cap. I've seen them talk about the independence part, but not the second part. So I don't know whether that's because it doesn't apply to the cap, therefore it's fine, and the 19 conversation is accurate or not. But that's the thing I'm curious for. So
Yes.
if anyone has a link to the full amendment, they can send on X. I'm happy to shut up and go look at them offline in amateur sleuth way, admitting that I could possibly be wrong. But that aside, I like the previous caller because I've always thought that none of these conferences are going to 19 because it's such a friggin' scheduling nightmare, and the whole reason they're really trying to expand. Yes, it's about academics and the other sports, but it's really ultimately about the football part of all of that. And 19 is a nightmare, and they didn't want to be the next ACC. But maybe they want to be the next ACC, and they just predict which team's going to suck the most ahead of years and give them the weird schedule tiebreaker that never comes into play. Because that's hard to deal with, or there's some workaround. Maybe the money's worth the scheduling hassle. So I'm down to do that. But I don't know if it even matters whether or not any other states sign on to it, other senators do that, right? It could just be flooding the zone with amendments that are poison pills, delaying the process, taking time out along the way. Mm-hmm. So one way or the other, because if you're right in your speculation and you're not, what your take is, if you're right in this, the clock runs out on this, then all those teams, all those universities possibly get what they want after this Congress breaks and a new one kicks in next year, and then the conferences have their window to not have to worry about any of this. They have other problems to worry about because they don't get the antitrust, they don't get the 5 for 5 codified, they get all these other things, which is why Topher was probably right about a skinny bill. But maybe that's the end game too. I think it's more interesting for sure if South Carolina signs on to that amendment, or their senator, well, they're one senator right now, right, or the acting senator as well, puts out a separate, slightly different version, or North Carolina does a slightly different version, or whatever, Virginia. I don't know that this bill was written at all by, these amendments were written at all by Florida State or Miami or, FIU for that matter, based off of the other day. All right.
Yep. Or USF.
Or USF or whoever,
yep.
Right? I'm sure that there was influence. I don't think there was as much influence as, Cody Campbell on the Protect College Sports Act for sure. But I think it definitely shows the point that, this whole bill is very complicated in general, right? Because the allies are not the normal allies. The Congressional Black Caucus is on a different side of this than the United Negro College Fund scholarship team, right?
Yes.
For the HBCUs.
Yes.
And not always, but a lot of the time they might wind up on the same side of an issue, but they're not on this one.
Yeah.
One's, trying to advocate for that, Part 3 and the HBCUs. The other is more taking it from an athlete's perspective and a union side kind of thing. So they're opposites. You got Republicans and Democrats that normally fight about everything on the same side, and others that are on the other side together, and they normally fight about everything. So it's really hard to figure it out. But what they've done is just make it so damn complicated and so big that there's so many ways to poke holes in it.
Yes.
That maybe Lazarus is going to die again, even though he's come back from the dead multiple times so far.
Yes.
And maybe that's the end game. I don't know.
Yes. And yes. And those, the last people in the room figuring out the last part of this bill was basically Cantwell, Cruz, and the Big Ten and the SEC. But there are voices that were not part of that last part, the negotiations. And those voices are now starting to talk. And a lot of it, some of it has to do with what the Congressional Black Caucus is saying. If it's about us, we have to be in the room, right? The athletes have to be in the room. And they were not in the room on this. You've also got the 19-5 people, who are negatively affected by this. And now their voices are being heard. When you make a bill so big, you better get every voice in the room that it affects. But so even if this is a fascinating epic moment in my opinion, because even if this bill goes down And I think the chances of it going down are pretty big at this point. But it's still alive, right? But if it goes down, I think this whole Moody amendment shines another light on the possibilities of what's going to happen in 2027. Because again, Rock, it's you've had all these, and we know it, you know it, we know it. You talk to people, I talk to people. There has been so much. The work has been done on whatever is going to happen next, to the point where I don't think any promises have been made. I don't think there's any wink handshake deals, but there's a lot of expectations put out there. And I think if this doesn't pass, I do not think, especially the Big Ten, and then I think the SEC is going to have to know that the Big Ten is going to take their next strategic expansion, targeted expansion, and the SEC's got to know that the Big Ten, they're going to take this off the board. They're not going to let the next Congress have control. They're not going to let them propose a 19 cap number. So I think 2027, if this passes with the amendment, it's going to be a wild early 2027. If it doesn't pass at all, it's going to be a wild 2027. If it passes without the amendment, we're not going to have a wild 2027, but we are going to have some court cases happening in regards to the 19 and 5. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, and the thing, Greg, is like you're right. Like the house might not ultimately get built, but the framework of who's on, what dimensions, everything are being framed either way. And it's either gonna, they're gonna go do what they got to do on their own, or they're gonna have somebody else build it for them.
Yeah.
And the thing I personally really want to know is whether that Moody amendment does or does not deal with the 19 at all. Because if it gives a window for the conferences to go over, I then also still have a problem with the amendment, even though that would certainly benefit a school like Miami. Because I'm not going to be intellectually inconsistent here. I don't think anyone's right of association should be blocked, even if it works out in some form for the place that I care about the most. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to be that way. Nobody's right to free association should be blocked, even if Miami got in under whatever temporary thing happened, whether that's the 19 and there's no independent thing and, Big Ten decides to go to 19 and take Miami, whatever, SEC, whoever, don't care. I don't think it should be at 19 because there's no monopoly involved here yet. And it's inconsistent. I'm not in the rules for me, but not, rules for thee, but not for me zone on any of this crap.
Okay, we do have a little bit of breaking news. Can you hold on a second here?
Sure.
You have a little bit of time?
I do. I'm curious to hear.
Hold on, everybody. Here is the written amendment. Page S4529 from the Congressional Record Online to the Government Publishing Office. SA6754. Ms. Moody submitted an amendment intended to be proposed by her to the bill S4668 to protect the name, image, and likeness rights of and provide protections for student athletes and to promote fair competition among intercollegiate athletics and for other purposes, which was ordered to lie on the table as follows. On page 146, strike line 4 and insert the following. F, exemption for covered institutions that attempt to withdraw from a conference within a grace window. Subsection 8 shall not apply to any merger, consolidation, or acquisition with respect to a covered institution that as of the date of enactment of this section is a member of a covered conference not later than 180 days after that date. The covered institution files a notice that satisfies the contractual obligation of the covered institution for purposes of withdrawing from the covered conference. So what I'm getting from this is filing the notice of withdrawal from the ACC within the 180 days of if this would pass, grants you the ability to move from one Power 4 conference to another. Again, no mention of the cap number of 19. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I'm trying to scroll down to page 146 to get that lineup of the original agreement to see where it falls. Not that I'm a congressional expert on reading laws, but since freaking I follow college football, somehow I had to do this shit along with everybody else. Sorry about that language there. Because that's the part is like, where is it actually referencing back, right? It's not saying 19. It isn't saying it's not saying 19. It's not saying 19. What is it actually referring to? 146 line 4. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to find it here. Maybe I'll step aside and try to see. But
got it.
146 line 4. The term covered conference means a conference. The primary athletic revenue, which is derived from the sale or transfer of media rights to intercollegiate. So like if you put it in there, but still not. You have to really know this bill back and forth to understand if it's only applying to, whether because you get removed from that because you've withdrawn in 180 days, does that mean the conference that they've already bound to 19 still has that? Or does it render both of them moot, the independence issue and 19? Because if it's only the independence issue, great, you still have a cap of teams. They just don't have a penalty. So like, do teams take an exit on the hopes that one day they can do it, right? And then, if you get a bunch of teams who leave their conference and pay that fee because they don't have to pay the independence media thing and pool their media rights in hopes that all or some of them get into a Power 2, whether the legislation changes or courts rule down the road. I don't know. I'm personally still not sure whether that does or does not impact the 19 or not, but hopefully one of the winners or the others or some smarter person who's listening to this can interpret it for us. So I'll stop something about stuff that I don't know.
Rock and Rant, Ross Dellinger also reported, I don't know if you caught this or not, that the whip vote did not give the numbers expected to Cruz and Cantwell.
Wait, you mean Ted Cruz can't count?
Well, it would be Cantwell as well. I mean,
yeah, I know. I know. They both can't count. I'm sorry. Ted Cruz to me is still the one, right? Because he's the one who's being driven by Campbell, whereas I think Cantwell at least has some intention otherwise.
Yeah, here it is. A whip vote count that isn't as high as originally expected. So they might have lost, and again, I'm just speculating here. They might have lost some senators, like a Senator Moody, who they thought was in their bucket, but because
they thought they had like 80 the other day,
yeah,
that they might have had as high a vote as 80. So how did they go from maybe as high as 80 to, I don't even know if they're saying that they don't have 60 or did they not even have 50? Mm-hmm. So clearly you're going to have people who would, maybe filibuster in some form to make the 60 be necessary.
Yeah.
Wild.
It is.
Super annoying because camps are open and we should be talking about that.
Yeah.
But still super interesting at the same time. It's like realignment in general.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Let others talk.
All right. Thank you, sir. Great call.
Appreciate it, man.
I do want to give a special shout out to those who have donated to our program today to help us keep the lights on. Christopher Hooter and Kenneth Maynor. We've also got Briggs of Disaster Super Chat, $2 holler. Hold on one moment.
From
Tristan Fibes.
Tristan 5, can you hold on for a second?
Yes.
We've got a $2 holla. from Briggs of Disaster. Army of 24 and 0. 24 the cap number, 0 years for independence provision. Briggs of Disaster, Notre Dame, Miami, Duke, Georgia Tech, Virginia, and Stanford. Holy smokes. Thank you so much for the $2 holler. I appreciate the generosity, Briggs of Disaster. Appreciate it, helping us keep the lights on and growing the channel. Tristan, go ahead, sir. I appreciate the phone call. The floor is absolutely yours.
Hey, thanks for taking my call, Greg. Yeah, listen, I was going to ask some questions. I think Rock and Rant was bringing up most of what I was going to ask because it's really confusing the way this is worded. It just on the surface, like I found out about this from War Chant. Someone posted this news. And I said, oh, man, I bet Greg's doing a show. And then I hopped over to YouTube, and there you were. Mm-hmm. But so, you know, like without penalty, I mean, what does that even mean? Is that like lifting is that like superseding the conference withdrawal fees? Saying like, no, you can't even charge them to leave the conference?
Oh, I don't think so. Because when I just read that, it was basically file your notice of withdrawal, and I'm paraphrasing, fulfill your contractual obligations to the conference that you're leaving. I don't think so. I think you would have to pay up. You would have to pay that $129 million to the ACC.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my take.
Right. That's fine. And that's probably the case. Like, I can't imagine that they would try to undo that. But, like, the way this legislation is and the way the government's so interfering in all this, it seems like it seemed like that might have been the case. But I just wanted to double check. So, but it feels to me like, so this is a Florida senator doing this. So it sounds like, or it feels like they're doing this on behalf of FSU and or Miami. I mean, am I wrong in thinking that?
No, you're right. I think it's both.
And you think it's both?
Yep.
Okay. So, I mean, is the chalk at this point then that Miami is going to be amongst the first group to leave the ACC along with FSU? Like, they're both going to be, like, I'm guessing, like, if the conferences, Greg, are going to stick to this 19 thing, even though it's not a law right now, it sounds like what might happen is FSU to the SEC, Miami to the Big Ten, and then two more. I don't even know who that would be. Does that seem like what's being built up here?
Well, I did a whole speculation on that at the beginning of the show. And of course, it's all speculation. But I'm going to go ahead and speculate that Florida State and Miami have both contacted congressional staff members of U.S. House of Representatives throughout their state and their senators, saying that we have a real opportunity here to get to the SEC and the Big Ten, and Moody acted on that. Now, Moody acted on the Florida State. She was the Attorney General of the state of Florida when Florida State sued the ACC. So she has already been heavily involved in litigation between Florida State and the ACC. So I got a feeling that especially Florida State called her up and said, look, we've been in heavy talks with the Big Ten and the SEC, and maybe Florida State is so sure of themselves that they are going to be one of the top ones picked, that they don't care about the 19 cap number. They need to get rid of that 5-year probationary period. So Moody's like, okay, I'll do an amendment to try to get rid of that, try to get a 180-day grace period. So Florida State, you have an opportunity to move to the SEC or the Big Ten. So that could be what is going on. I mean, all this is speculation, right?
Yeah.
What we're trying to What I said, Tristan, and I'll give the floor back to you, is I'm very fascinated to see if any other senators jump on Moody's amendment. If there's South Carolina senator, if a North Carolina senator, a Georgia senator jumps on this amendment, and also if there is an amendment when it comes to the cap number itself. But go ahead, Tristan. The floor is yours.
Well, I was just trying to get a couple of answers, trying to shore up like some areas where I wasn't quite sure what's going on.
Yeah, we don't know.
Yeah, I know we don't know. I think the 19 number is like it doesn't make sense, and so like in my thinking was if they're going to do a quick strike, if people are going to move, if they're going to try and move prior to this actually becoming a signed law, you got to have, and your intention is to go past 19. Well, then that means you got to do it before this thing becomes a law. So that puts the quick strike into play, right? It's like we're gonna get this move done under the gun, right? So that you can't limit us to 19 if we're already at 20.
Yes,
That would be my interpretation. The other thing too, Greg, I mean, when we first heard about the 19 number and we were all questioning it and thought it sounded so bizarre.
Yeah.
The speculation was, I even called in and said this, that number 19 for the Big Ten, that's Notre Dame, right? And if they don't pick up the phone and say, hey, let's join, then they're going to stay at 18. But now, just hypothetically, but now if Miami and Florida State say, all right, we're out, we're going to pay the fine, we're going to go, and then there might even be others, Notre Dame's not going to want to stick around, right? That's the scenario where Notre Dame would pick up the phone and say, yeah, we're interested now, right? So now there might be too many moving parts, if you see what I'm saying here.
Yeah.
It just seems so weird. Like this 19 number is just like fouling everything up.
Yeah.
There seems like a natural order to how this should go. If all these schools intend to leave, I feel like Notre Dame and Miami should go together to the Big Ten. You know, I feel like Florida State and Clemson should go to the SEC. And this just kind of ruins all that. The 19 number just ruins all of it. And I don't know, it seems like someone needs to attack that. And then, of course, the 5-year independence is just nuts. But we don't think that, you know, the speculation there, or the chalk, is that the courts won't let that stand. But, yeah, I just don't know what to think about. What's anyone supposed to do? You know, it feels like they're greasing the skids for Florida State and Miami to leave. But if this number 19 is going to be honored, even though it's not officially a law yet, it still has everything up in the air. From my perspective, it leaves everything up in the air. Because if Notre Dame catches a whiff that Florida State and Miami are leaving, Greg, I think they're leaving too.
Yeah. I think the one that hurts Notre Dame the most, if they can't win, that North Carolina was able to get out of their situation and that they were going to go to like the SEC. I think that would hurt Notre Dame even more. But yeah.
Wow. Yeah, and I didn't want to mention UNC, Greg, because I feel like they don't really know what they want to do.
Yeah.
And I think the Virginia situation that you reported on, where the window of opportunity is closed.
Yeah.
And now they're just sort of neutral and they're just sitting there. I think that's giving North Carolina second thoughts about going to the SEC.
Yeah, because they were going to give them political cover.
They choose the Big Ten.
Yeah.
So, anyway, listen, that's all I had. I just wanted to get a couple of those questions answered. I appreciate it, Greg.
Appreciate you too, sir. Thank you.
All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Great call by Tristan. Appreciate it. Legendary caller, PATC. We have got ourselves a $5 super chat from the one and only MF1968. We always get a call when we get a super chat.
Call from
Canes fan, 1993.
Canes fan, 1993. Can you hold on a second, please?
Yes, sir.
I appreciate it. We got a $5 super chat. MF 1968. Because I love college football and the way you present it, thank you, MF 1968 CB. Thank you for the $5 holler. I appreciate the generosity, helping us keep the lights on and grow the channel. It's tough to move the schedule around and do a live broadcast early in the morning when you're expected to do one later in the day. It affects the family life and everything else. So I do appreciate the $5 holler. Thank you so very much, MF 1968. I'm glad that you enjoy how we present this. We take it seriously, but we do not take ourselves seriously, if that makes any sense. Go ahead. The floor is yours, sir.
How you doing, Mr. Flugar?
Doing good. How are you, Canes fan 1993?
This morning has been busy, but so far so good.
Yes.
I don't want to make this political, unfortunately. I think that's kind of sort of the nature of the beast at this point. But do you happen to know where Mr. Trump is going to be this weekend?
No idea.
So there's a live golf event happening up in New York at his golf course in New Jersey.
Oh, okay.
Isn't it odd that the University of Miami also has an event happening at said golf course at the same time?
Yeah. Is Marco Rubio going to be there?
That's possible. I just think, the timing of the senator from Florida announcing that she's putting an amendment for something that affects the state schools and then certain state institutions possibly being in the area at the same time when Mr. Trump and some other executives will be up there is rather interesting given the timing of everything.
Interesting. That could mean something. I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name, but Gio Milan?
Yep.
South Florida reporter. How do you say his last name?
Yeah, Milan. Yeah. He's a beat writer down here. Yep.
He says Big Ten. That's where I believe Miami will ultimately end up with all this conference realignment and upcoming changes to the sport. Mm-hmm. He just popped that in there. I just wanted to show that. Go ahead, sir. Sorry to interrupt.
No, it's fine. I just the university has been very proactive, and I know we've talked about this over the last few months, positioning itself to get ready for everything. Obviously, there are curveballs along the way, right, as far as this bill and this 19+5 and how all that interacts. But I will say that regardless of whether it's a private or a public school, the University of Miami is very tied into the political apparatus of the state of Florida through boosters and other things. So just because Ashley Moody represents the public institutions of the state, right, they're a state entity, doesn't mean that she's not also looking out for a private institution, the people that donate to her campaign.
Yes, and we have reported this over the last couple of years at Peek Around the Corner, to some of the dismay of my Hurricanes brothers and sisters and to my Seminoles brothers and sisters. But Florida State and Miami have a lot closer relationship than the fans. They actually work good together. We've heard that 1,000 times from 1,000 different sources. Florida State and Miami's relationship institutionally is a very good one. But go ahead, sir.
No, I was going to get to that as well. I think Miami and Florida State are bedfellows in this, both from a political action and trying to lobby support for that, in addition to making sure that the state positions itself as a sort of wedge here if this push comes to shove and they need to interact that way. Mm-hmm. I also, Miami's got a bunch of things coming up as far as a new apparel deal. They just signed Mario Cristobal to an extension. They're getting ready to, this is coming off their centennial. So I think conference affiliation and President Echeverria has been out in front of it for a lot of it. And I think he said more than even I expected. But I think given everything that is going on, one of the reasons they haven't hired an athletic director already is because their attention is elsewhere currently. Just some of the things that I'm hearing is that there are more pressing issues that need to be tackled first before they go to an athletic director, with the way that position has sort of evolved and changed over the last 10 years or so.
Yes. True. Very
so
true.
I think you'll see a domino effect here pretty soon, and we've sort of been told within the next 6 months that the landscape will change pretty significantly, and the university is prepared to do what it needs to do to make sure it's at the forefront of that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I appreciate your show, and I hope you
it.
come on later, and I'll be listening. But thank you for all you do, and I'll talk to you later.
I appreciate it, sir. Thank you very much. Great call.
Take care.
Hurricanes fan, 1993. Okay, let's do some pretending here. Let's do some pretending. Let's pretend, because I see some comments in the comment section that the senator of Florida probably might have only acted in Florida State's self-interest and not Miami's. Let's pretend for a moment that was true. We're only pretending here. Let's say that the senator of Florida only got that phone call from Florida State, and Florida State really needs that 180 days grace period. And that Florida State doesn't really believe they need that 19 number cap to be to 20 or 21 or 22. They just need that 180 day grace period. What does Florida State believe? If all that is true, what does Florida State believe here? Do they believe that they are school 17 or 18 in the Southeastern Conference for sure? Like they are 17 or 18 without a shadow of a doubt? Or does Florida State believe there are school 19 in the Big Ten without a shadow of a doubt? Now, we're just pretending here. We're pretending that this came from Florida State and not so much Miami. We are pretending that Florida State is saying, well, the number 19 doesn't really affect us because we think we are in regardless. I don't think Florida State could possibly believe that they are school number 19 in the Big Ten without a shadow of a doubt, and we don't need to concern ourselves moving that number from 19 to 20 in another amendment. So to me, and this is speculation, if this is truly coming from Florida State more than Miami, and if Florida State they're not concerned with the 19, like the senator did not say to Florida State, well, I think I can try to do the 180-day grace period, but I'm really not going to try to attempt to move that 19 to 20. If Florida State really was only focused on the 180-day grace period, because that 5-year probationary period of independence is a killer, then maybe we get to the point where logically, if anything I said was correct, which may not be, that Florida State has reasons to believe that they are schools 17 or 18 in the SEC. And they know they are. And all they really need is that 180-day grace period. That's all they need. And they're in. They can get to $129 million. They can write a check to the SEC, file notice of withdrawal. The ACC has to accept the check, and now Florida State is school 17 or 18. Now, of course, yeah. I'm just throwing that out there. Again, I am waiting to see if any other senators joins on this amendment. And I'm looking at the South Carolina senators, one senator. I'm looking at the Georgia senators. There would only be one of them available because the other one is already against the bill. Warnock. I apologize. I do not remember the name. He's part of the Congressional Black Caucus, senator of Georgia. He's already against the bill. So it'd be that Ossoff, that one other senator, and I'm probably saying his name incorrect. I apologize. I do not follow politics like I used to. Or the two senators of North Carolina. Now, I know one senator of North Carolina is supporting the bill as is. Warnock, thank you. Warnock is against the bill. Goldie Gopher is immortal now. What did Goldie Gopher do? What happened? What did Goldie Gopher do? Is immortal now. I don't know what that means. I know Goldie Gopher is a great mascot, and I guess if you play that college football video game, Goldie Gopher does a great job. But other than that, Goldie Gopher just made the Mascot Hall of Fame. Jermaine Jackson. All right. Beautiful. Beautiful. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Nice. Very nice. Very nice. Congratulations. Congratulations. Missouri did successfully claim it. According to his senators up on Capitol Hill. They took our Minnesota 1960 national championship, but we're gonna keep that up in the old stadium. We got 1960 up on we got 7 national championships. 1960 is our last one. And they're not going to take it away from us. I mean, they can take it away from us, but they're not going to take it away from us, Minnesotans, Golden Gophers. It's going to remain in our football stadium. So, all right. Yeah, we do know that. Mario Cristo, GOAT, Miami 100% wants to move. All you have to do is listen to Miami's president talk. I agree with everything you just said. He also certain confident that Miami has a spot. We talked about Miami 3 years ago being the right underneath North Carolina and Notre Dame being the top target for the Big Ten. We definitely, absolutely, I agree with you, sir. Numbskull News. All right, phone lines are open. Let's see if there's any more national reporting going on. We've got 268 people. 268 people. How many? Everybody, please go smash that like button. It helps us with the YouTube algorithm so very much. You guys know I am the original Minnesota moron. I'm not good at marketing this independent national live college football's rebel outpost, so I need you all help. I need you to smash that like button. Appreciate it. Okay, let me go check out here.
From
Did.
I'm sorry, did not get the name?
Ben.
Okay, go ahead, Ben. The floor is yours.
Yes, I was just wondering, I know with this expansion talk and everything and the possible cap at 19, I can see how that could benefit the SEC, but why would the Big Ten agree to that? It seems like it would hurt their expansion more than the SEC because I don't think the SEC is ever going to go past 18 teams.
Yeah, it would hurt the Big Ten. And I don't think they agreed with it. I don't think they're for it. In fact, CBS Sports had a report on it that Tony Petitti told Brandon Marcello that he doesn't even understand where the 19 came from. He does not understand why it's in the bill. I think a lot of people missed that report. They're not supporting it, but on the total, they felt that they had to support this last action from the senators, the lawmakers, and to support the Protect the College Sports Act because they were getting the antitrust exemption. I think.
I was here.
One more thing, I think there is cloak and dagger stuff going on. I think the Big Ten has. Look, Big Ten has had extensive, exhausted talks with many of the ACC schools that are on their candidate list, and I think in some way the Big Ten is working on this 19-5 through some of these ACC schools. All right, I think there's a lot of cloak and dagger stuff going on. The Big Ten does not support the 19-5. Go ahead, sir.
And then the only other thing I had was, like you said, it didn't make no sense to me either. But I've heard other Big Ten podcasters say that, well, maybe they were doing it because they were willing to sacrifice expansion for stability. And I was like, I don't know about that either. You know, like NIL caps and players only transferring one time. And I'm just like, I'm not so sure if that's right either.
The stability was the number one priority. No question about it. But there's more than one way to skin a cat. There's more than one way to, like I've used this expression before, only Richard Nixon could have opened up China. Like Richard Nixon was so anti-communist that he was the only one that could really open up China to the world. He's like the only one because of his past comments on China and communism. I know a lot of that's an example that's gonna not work with a lot of people. But what I'm trying to say is it probably can't be the Big Ten that beats back the 19-5 because it's going to make them look like, more of an evil empire than they already are in some eyes. It can't be them that wins that fight. It's got to be others that win that fight. And the others right now are stepping up to that fight. And that is what we said what was going to happen here at Peak Around the Corner. We were told that. We reported that now 4 days ago, and this is what's happening now. I think a lot of people have got this story wrong. I think a lot of people believe that the Big Ten, because they supported the PCSA, somehow they were willing to give up. They changed in the bill what they could effectively change in the bill. A tighter grip on the cap getting raised, antitrust exemption for eligibility, for the cap number, for transfer rules. They got what they could, and now the other items, the 19-5 in particular, has to be won by somebody else. If not by somebody else, if it passes in the court, if it passes the bill, then later on in the courts. I think that is what's happened. Petitti did not say, oh yes, the 19-5, that benefits the Big Ten. No, it does not. No, it does not. It does not, because the Big Ten's, one of their goals is to keep up with the SEC in market valuation. The Big Ten had to go to 18 to keep up with the SEC 16. The Big Ten had to go to USC, UCLA, and then Washington and Oregon to keep up with the SEC 16. The Big Ten is not going to wantonly agree to a deal that would keep the Big Ten literally at 18 schools and let the SEC go to 16 and 9 to go up to 19 schools. So the Big Ten does not want that part in the bill. But there were other high priorities. That is the part that everyone is getting correct. But there are other ways to get that 19-5 changed without the Big Ten being the face of it. The Big Ten cannot be the face of the change of the 19-5. Senator Moody can. Florida State can. Miami can. North Carolina, Virginia Tech, Virginia, Georgia Tech. That has to be the face of the change of the 19-5. Go ahead, sir.
I appreciate it, Greg. That's all I have. I love your podcast, and thanks for explaining it to me. Cause,
you got it, buddy.
I know everybody has their own take on things, but you seem to be right on, and I appreciate your show.
I appreciate you, sir. Call again, my man.
Bye-bye.
All right. And this is another moment, another subject, a big one, that makes it difficult, to be honest with you, to have a national channel, because so many people have different perspectives on this, because we all come from different parts of the country, our teams are in different conferences, we've got different interests, we're looking at things completely different. So what we try to do on this national independent YouTube channel is to give everybody a voice. That's why the phone calls are so important. I give you my spiel, you give me your spiel, and we talk about it. And we rarely are all going to agree. We never agree on everything. The one subject that really unites everybody in the chat, almost everybody in the chat, is when we do our picks against the spread. Not one time in 4 years, not one time in the PATC Einstein's votes have they picked the Longhorns to cover the spread against anybody. That is like the one uniting moment in this channel. The Texas Longhorns are never picked to cover the spread. Everything else, we have disagreements everywhere here at Peek Around the Corner, and that's how it should be. Please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button if you've liked our content. This is a national independent college football's rebel outpost where we give voice to the nobodies like myself and to you all. We do not interview the big names out there in college. I've had all the opportunities in the world. I could have interviewed national reporters. I could have done a lot of things here, but I decided this is going to be the channel for the college football sickle. So I appreciate all you joining us. Thank you, Preston from Greensboro. Preston, Greg the Cold. You're going to be wrong on that, sir. You are going to be wrong on that. It is Greg the Gold. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it looks like we're not going to get any more national reporting on this incredible story. We are going to try to get on later back today when we do have more reporting. So I do want to thank those who gave us a super chat to help us keep the lights on and grow the channel. Christopher Hooter, Kenneth Maynor, Briggs of Disaster, and MF1968. I do appreciate all of you. I appreciate the callers, the comments in the comments section. We had a lot of people join us today. I appreciate it. It was a breaking news live show. We still got 230 people in here. But I'm going to elect to shut this down now. We've been on the air for 2 hours. And I want to be able to have the opportunity to come on later on today if necessary. I think it's quite obvious we're going to get more reporting. Because we're down to the end here. If this is not voted on if this PCSA is not voted on by Saturday, it's not going to make it. We're going to go into August recess, and then it's going to get kicked back in September. And time kills all deals. The more time it sits around, the deal is going to be killed. So we are in for a wild 2026. We covered college football. We've done our spotlight series. We've broken down the tape. We've done our predictions on every conference, G6 representative in the playoffs. We've done our hot seat ranking for the coaches. We've done our Heisman Watch updates for week 0. We've done everything except for give the final prediction on the college football playoffs. That is going to happen soon. Everything else, we're going to chop up college football the rest of the way until kickoff on August 29th. We are going to do more watch parties than anybody else, so please stick with us at Peek Around the Corner. Subscribe, smash the like button, have some fun. We're going to cry and celebrate together in this very dramatic 2026 season. And we're also going to be covering what happens off the field. We're going to give you the best peek around the corner in the business. I think we've done that through this story as well. But this one is complicated, a lot of unknowns, and a lot of cloak and dagger. Until next time, from all of us at Peek Around the Corner to all of you, please y'all take great care of each other. And as always, God family.